Do you have anything specifically that you want to talk about?
Nope. My phone acted funny. Did you send me some questions?
I did. I
Okay.
did.
For
It's
whatever reason, Facebook decided to not let me get to those. I've gotten your other emails today, but not those.
okay. And what it is at about 50 minutes, I am starting to do a rapid fire speed round.
Okay.
So I'll ask you a series of questions, and they look like what is one training habit everyone should start tomorrow?
Okay.
And then one, like one habit that martial artists should stop immediately, and then if you do your best to answer it in like through three 1 to 5 sentences,
Right.
it works out really, really well. And then the last one, and that's optional, is what does being formable mean to you personally?
Okay. I've just screwed something up. Hold on. I'm
You're
gonna come back to the meeting,
you're good, dude. You're good.
but I
Take your
can't
time.
wait. Oh, nope, there it is. Okay. I see what I did. Yep. I was trying to see if I could blur out all of my daughter's horse-related stuff over my shoulder, but
Yeah, not so easy sometimes.
yeah. Yeah.
No,
We have
dude.
we did lots of Zooms and stuff during COVID to have like family dinners and whatever. So,
Hmm.
but not since then.
Not since then. Well, that was the time when the entire world was being ran by men that did not wear pants.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
just know everybody was like, it was a giant boardroom and everybody was like, that's right, my balls are hanging out. You know what I mean? Like the whole time.
So it's funny you got the Minnesota Collie Group thing. My stepdad was a reporter for a TV station in the Twin Cities,
Hmm.
and he was not when on camera he wasn't always in a complete suit. Yes. So
I can't
depending
blame
on
them. I can't
yeah.
blame them. Like,
Oh,
not for
those
nothing.
those cameras, those lights are hot, hot, hot. So
For
yeah.
sure.
Yep.
All right. So I'll just go ahead and bring you in. I'm going to set a timer for 50 minutes.
Cool.
And don't feel limited by that time. It's
Yeah.
just it's easier for me to guide if I have some type of like these things can go on for 3 hours. I did
Yeah.
one time and we literally talked for 3 hours, and then it was just like when we got to the end, I was like, that was the part that nobody ever heard. Nobody
Yeah.
ever heard because yeah. Hello, my name's Jamie Sparling, FormABLE Podcast. Have you ever wondered why martial artists pick the arts that they do? How do normal people pick hobbies? Most of the time, there is a story involved. Today, I have Steve Braun, my friend from Maryland. I hadn't talked to him in 30 years. We got to talk the other day about Pencak Silat Mende Muda and his time with Herman Suwanda. Before we get going, hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. You know the drill. I'm sure you're going to want to find out all about the other podcasts that we have offered. Steve, how's life treating you, brother?
It's pretty good. Pretty
Right
good. I'm
on.
in my last year of teaching high school, and I'll be doing something else part time. Hopefully, teaching more martial arts, and yeah, it's good. Good.
You're one hell of an instructor, man. You were
Thank you.
so funny. You're welcome. When I reached out to you and I had said, "Do you want to come on the podcast?" You were like, "You sure you got the right guy?" And I was like, "Hold on." And then I said, "Steve Braun used to host Pa Herman back in the day at your academy in Maryland. And
Yep.
me and the guys from the New York Martial Arts Academy came twice. It was always phenomenal."
Yeah, we were lucky. We had him a total of 4 times, um, and I just to what you said a moment ago, I just hit it off with him right away.
Hmm.
Um, I'd met him at Gurdan's school in California. immediately asked, can he come to a seminar for us? I had never done a seminar. I had no money. It was all on a credit card somewhere. And just in that immediate connection. What is it? In Chinese culture, they call them red thread friends. William
Hmm.
Chung had talked about that a long time ago when I'd met him, and he instantly hit it off with the guy who was running the restaurant we took him to after the seminar. And he explained this concept in Chinese culture that you're connected by a red thread, and you don't know how that happens, but you're there. And that was instantly with me and Herman. It was he uncle, big brother kind of relationship, right? So,
Hmm.
because he wasn't really that much older than me, but he seemed a lot older than me in a good way.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah.
So, can I ask what first? Well, obviously you did Kali if you were out at the Inosanto Academy
hmm
beforehand. What drew you to Kali and Silat, and who were you like your influences, and who brought you into that world?
So I started doing martial arts in Minnesota, and then my family moved to the DC, Maryland area. Again, actually, we moved back and forth a couple times. Um, and I was walking down the street in Bethesda, Maryland one day, going to a video store to get a job at the local video store back when you rented tapes, please rewind
Hmm.
this, all that stuff. And there was a sign in the front of a Nautilus uh, weight training facility that was brand new, and it said Jun Fan Gung Fu. And I went, that's Bruce Lee's real name. What's this about?
Hmm.
So I bothered this guy for weeks to start teaching, and his name was Ray Marr. He grew up in Hawaii. He went to the University um, of Washington in Seattle, and he worked at this restaurant named Ruby Chow's,
Wow.
who was his aunt. Yeah. And he said, that's where I met Bruce Lee. Years later, he did martial arts as a kid. He didn't do martial arts with Joe Bruce up there, but then he moved to LA. He was a screenwriter and a TV writer, wrote for a TV show called The Rookies. If you're really old, you'll remember that's a cop show in the 70s. And Heart to Heart, which was another
Wow.
show. And I just bugged him till he started teaching Jun Fan. And then he had Guro Dan come out, met Guro Dan. That was what we were doing. And then he moved back to LA. And so I was scrambling for what to do. Um, I kind of entertained training on my own and grabbing a few of the guys from that group, like, let's just keep going,
Mm-hmm.
and saw myself more as just an organizer, in no way, shape, or form the teacher. But then just kept going to more and more seminars with Guru, and that snowballed and lucked out. And then to get to the actual point, Guru started teaching Silat, and I just felt a sudden affinity for that art.
Yeah. Me
So,
too. I think
yeah,
it's one of the most beautiful arts that are out there. And we just recently at Affinity Martial Arts started a Majapahit class. And
right.
it's really going pretty well. And it's neat because our Brazilian Jiu Jitsu instructor, Michael Harrell, sees a lot of value in the Silat when we start doing Harimau. He's like the icy leg attacks. So he really tells his students in the jujitsu program to go to the Silat program. And so we have a lot of really nice crossover.
Yeah. Do you ever think that Silat is uh it's a grappling art that has uh some punching and kicking in it, or is it a punching and kicking art that has some grappling in it? And I'm always reminded of those old Reese's peanut butter cup commercials. Do you
Yeah.
remember? You got your chocolate and you got your grappling and my striking. No, you got your striking and my grappling. And it's so funny about how the art is formable, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you still get to express yourself in the art. Uh, And as I get older, I do a lot more grappling because percussion hurts, right? Your joints don't like kicking as much and hitting the bag and whatever. So yeah.
Yeah. At what point did you start training with Guru Dan? Was that in the 80s
Yeah,
or?
I started with Gura in 19, let's see, I was not 18. So I started in 1982. My first certificate from a seminar was 1982. So was I? Yeah, I was 18, just 18. So Ray had him come out to um, the DC area, and I got to meet him then. I also got to meet my senior in um, the Junfan Gung Fu arts and stuff. Pat Finley, who's my senior, who still lives in this area. I was at his house yesterday. Um, and I'm trying to think if I met anybody else. Shortly thereafter, I met a lot of those other senior guys who, a few of us are still around, but a lot of folks have either stopped training or dropped way off or whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah. How has your teaching philosophy kind of evolved over the years out of curiosity?
That's a great one because I and actually was talking about that today. So, um, I have a couple of students who are my juniors, I guess, under Gurudin, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
more recently been more they've been more recently made instructors.
Mm-hmm.
And the one thing changed is I learned early on I couldn't just mimic what Guru was giving us at seminars because I realized he was giving us stuff not at base level, but somewhere in that intermediate level to capture our attention and get us excited. So I learned that pretty early that I
Good for
needed to do
you.
that.
It
Yeah,
took me a
that
long time to figure that out,
I
Steve.
I think it takes us all of us a long time because unless we're with him all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the academy, that's what we see. And not all of us have the opportunity to do the arts from the base up. I lucked out because the gentleman I mentioned earlier, Ray Marr, was a Wing Chun focused guy and taught the basics all the way up. So I figured out at some point um, I'm going to have to back up and figure out we're doing some Brado here, but what's the core? What are the core pieces of that? How do I train that or those pieces so that then I can put them back together, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing that's changed in my training. Um, what the hardest part of being a JKD teacher, I think, and using JKD as your model for teaching, the hardest part is going, this is what I need, but I'm responsible for these other X number of people. I may cut that drill out and say, I don't need that anymore, but those guys need it. Or
Yeah.
that one guy needs this one drill. He just can't put something together. And how do we do that? That's the real hard part. And luckily, I've always taught a small enough group that I can individualize that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been that's a strength of mine, I think, and my students tell me that all the time. So it's not me just bragging on that one. That's something I hear from them. So
It's great that you said that because one thing that I have heard from a great many of our guests on the show that are teachers is how important the listening part is in the relationship, and how easy it is at the very beginning to do most of the talking and most of the teaching and present material that you find or I find fascinating. And then after a while, we look out at the students and think, oh, I don't think that's where I should have started,
yeah,
you know?
yep,
It's easy to do.
it very easy. Yeah, yeah.
So what
It,
was it? Go ahead.
no, 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 that's good.
Yeah. What was it like getting to know Pa Herman and hosting him and all that?
I I have been been blessed in my martial arts history. I've always managed to be with the right people, right? The and have a good relationship with them. And I early on, because I was training with Guru so long, um, when Paula came into his life, Paula and I hit it off right away. So when I talked to actually her about bringing Herman out, she explained he was going through some family stuff. So I said, well, then why doesn't he just come stay with me for a week? He doesn't have to do anything but just stay with me for a week, just to get him out of LA and let him just decompress and be
Hmm.
in another place. So he actually came like 5 days before one of those seminars where you were with me when we were significantly younger,
Yeah.
and we just hung out. We trained a little bit, we talked a lot, uh, we ate, and it was just awesome. He shows up and he goes, "Have you ever heard of this fish farm in northern Maryland?" And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Well, I have a koi farm back at home, and this place is known around the world. I really want to go there." So we packed up and went to northern Maryland and went to this giant fish farm. I don't even remember if he got anything, but he wanted to go, so we went. So just
That's
stuff like that with him, and it was, that's where that kind of relationship solidified. As I said, I felt a kinship to him maybe right away, but
hmm
that week that solidified that.
Yeah. What were the conversations like, if you don't mind me asking?
Everything. Couple things stuck with me. The have when you're having trouble with students, make
Hmm.
see if you can't bend them before you break them, which what he was talking about is uh just relationships with students that don't work and you need
Hmm.
to make space. And luckily I haven't had that happen too often, but I have had that issue with students where I try to gently guide them in a path and it doesn't work. Um, he talked a lot about his teachings that came from his dad that were from the more spiritual avenue, something, you know, you don't usually you
Yeah.
hear about in Silat, but you don't usually see in Silat. Um, just jokes, just everything that if you were hanging out, as I said earlier, with your big brother or an uncle, everything that you'd go, you'd have that conversation about in a week. So,
Yeah.
but with a
He
guy that's basically a Jedi Knight, right? So,
basically, and 100%, he was the most amazing person I'd ever seen or met in my life, and I would just to have those types of conversations. That's really really cool that you had that experience.
yeah, incredibly lucky. So,
Yeah. So, what does your teaching look like nowadays, and where are you teaching at?
I'm literally looking out my back window and I can see the park where I teach. I've been
Yeah.
teaching in a park for 20 years because it's my side job, as I
Mm-hmm.
said. Um, and I have 8 students if everybody shows up. A couple are in Guru's instructorship program. A couple were senior in other arts, and we just rotate through kind of the core 3 things um, that I want to share with people: uh, the Junfan stuff, the Eskrima, and Silat. And the Silat, I pull from Mandimuda and I pull from Mafala Indo, also from Sirach. So it's a kind of balanced look at Silat also. Uh, and we'll hit on a theme and focus on that for 3 weeks, and then sometimes we'll move to a related theme in a different art. So if
Mm-hmm.
we are working on footwork, then here it is in Silat. Here's the parallels in Junfan the next week or the after that 3 weeks, and then here is the parallels in the Kali Eskrima. So yeah,
So it sounds like, in your own way, you're kind of breaking the barriers between the arts just a little bit. And that's fascinating because more people that I talk to that have been teaching for a long time, that's where they're at, is how do we integrate these things into like a cohesive style of movement for the students, where, at least for myself, when I first started, everything had to be in its box, right?
yeah,
Hence all the talking when I was teaching. right? It was I was going
Hmm.
to take from this box. Look at Jamie. He's reaching up on the top shelf to grab this box. And after a while, like it seems, and Guru had always said that you don't know which art you're in at the time because it should be almost like a seamless process of movement.
Yeah, if we're doing if no matter what art I'm doing, if somebody stresses me, like they move faster than I thought they were going to, or they do something completely unexpected, my body defaults into Silat. I don't have that choice, right?
Hmm.
But it's I think that's that same thing you're talking about there, right? You don't now you're I'm intentionally pulling things and trying to have them see that what's the catchphrase? I'm trying to let them or help them see that through line in our art.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know, again, a challenge as a JKD person is to look at all those things and experience them, and then see those parallels. So if somebody comes from a different background, you can say, well, you know how in your art this thing is this way. Well, here's how we do it. It may be slightly different. It might be just the name is different, right? But
Hmm.
yeah, help them recognize that kind of universality.
I like what you said. Help them,
Yeah,
right? Because
yeah.
sometimes when they're all in different boxes, it's more difficult. But especially like I've never had a big school. So for my classes, I'm going to have, if I have 12 people, that's a huge class, right? And it
Hmm.
really helps to be able to spot on and know that this student, Chrissy, might need this, and that John might need this, or this person might need this, but they're really interested in that. So if I want to, bring it all the way through to help them, try to find the through line that makes total sense.
Yeah, yeah. And then sometimes you have to be the doctor and say, no, you can't do this. You need to do this one. That's
Yeah.
then you got to be the heavy, but that's okay. It's for
Hmm.
their benefit. So.
Sure. How do you deal to me that's a trust issue.
Mhm.
To your students, how do you develop that trust with them?
So that's a cool question. I've got three students who came to me, um, oh man, almost probably 2 years ago now. But definitely, it was it wasn't like, oh, he's this guy. Oh, we got it. But there was definitely a building process, right? And
Hmm.
I think just by being genuinely myself, um, and because I'm pretty self-deprecating, hence the comment, "Are you sure you got the right guy?" Uh,
Yeah,
and
me too.
sharing my experience with them, which is sometimes where I talk too much, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm talking too much. We need to train more." Um, Sharing with them that and being honest about, hey, you're not keeping your hands up, and neither did I. And then I went home for a month where I couldn't close my mouth after Saturday sparring classes because I wouldn't keep my hands up. So you can freely learn from my mistake, or you can keep making this mistake and you're going to pay a cost at some
Hmm.
point, right? So,
Yeah.
uh, and then just I, d- I've only had one or two students in my, well, okay, maybe three or four, but in my entire teaching martial arts career, which is now, I don't know, 35 years old, who weren't actually, I wouldn't call them friends. So that's another blessing on me, right? That these are people I trust and care about and am genuinely interested in their world, even outside martial arts. So,
Yeah, my
and
first.
I would guess for you, you're kind of not in a, you're kind of a small town area, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
I would guess that's something probably with you that's a similar thing, right?
Oh, without a doubt, without
Yeah.
a doubt. I remember my first teacher, Guru Steve talking about a conversation he had with Pa Herman, where Pa Herman had told him, and this is all through Steve's eyes, and he's no longer with us, so I might not get this right, but I thought it was fascinating. He said that Pa Herman at the time told him he really didn't have students, he had friends. And when he was out at the store, if he was their teacher, they might not say hello. but if he's their friend, they will come over to say hello.
Hmm.
And just recently for Veterans Day, I took my in-laws out to the casino, right? And then on the way back, we stopped and had lunch, and I saw somebody that I used to teach 2, 3 years ago, and he just had a baby. So
Oh,
Scott,
that's it. That's they're gone for a while.
yeah,
That always
yeah.
happens.
Yeah. So yeah, say Scott, if you're watching, yeah, appreciate you. But he actually came over and said to my in-laws that, that I was a really nice guy, And then I did the self-deprecating thing like we do, right?
Yep.
And I said, well, I gave him $1 earlier to
Yeah.
say
I
that.
slipped him a 20. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I only went for $1. I didn't want to make it too believable. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
at the same time, so yeah, that's great. So your students bring a lot of value to your life.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you know, this is another thing I think I just got from Guru more than anything. Um, Without my students, I'm just some guy hitting a bag. I'm just some guy doing jurus or swinging a stick or chopping with the sword. It's my students that let me, first of all, develop into a better martial artist. Completely, that's very selfish, right? But that's just a fact.
Yeah.
But I get to help the art progress because I've been entrusted with it, and by giving it to other people, it spreads. And if it's just for me and I hold it there, like I said, I'm just some guy in my backyard. But through them, the art grows, and I do honor to my teachers
Hmm.
because they trusted me with this, and I'm sharing it with them. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's a great kind of like symbiotic relationship that
Yep.
goes on,
Yeah.
and
How many things have I found out like, oh, that move, I can't do that move on anybody because these guys help me test it. Or, wow, I'm really good at that. And they help me figure that out too. So
hmm
it's a great feedback loop. Yep.
it is a great feedback loop. Do you think that's why probably our instructor program is shaped like that, like it is? In order to get better. I mean, for one thing, especially during your time, I'm preaching to the choir here, but there weren't a lot of people that were doing that art in the 80s. So
No.
if you wanted to practice, you pretty much had to teach a pox out if you wanted, right? I mean,
Yep.
you pretty much had to. And in the 90s, depending on where I was, it wasn't that much different, really.
No, you're right. We were the odd man out, right?
Hmm.
And we had to travel a lot to find guru or find people that did arts related to what we do. Um, yeah, it's that kind of that back to that loop, that sharing thing. It's just definitely from Guru, right? And he trusts that you're going to do the same thing with your teaching that he's done with his teaching. He's been very free about teaching, and I don't know that he's kept too many. What is Guru Cass Magda calls them your four aces. You keep four aces for yourself, four moves that are just you may share one of your aces with one of your students, but none of your students have all your aces. I don't see Guru doing that. He's just here's the information. Go ahead,
Hmm.
do with it what you will.
And
So
and the way that he would always send his students to go train with people, I always thought was absolutely fascinating. You should go train with that person. And on the base level in martial arts, probably in a lot of other kind of industries or hobbies, if I dare say, it's relatively the same. Where people want to keep everything to themselves. Like, no, 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 you need to stay over here,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I think that was especially different in the 80s, right? Everybody was in their own dojo, dojang, studio, whatever, and you didn't often hardly ever cross train, and you might be asked to leave if you did. I remember when I first moved to DC and I didn't think I should be working on my own for any martial art, I went to one school and then said, I want to also train in this school. And I got, you know, nope, you can't do that. What? It was kung fu movie like in that,
Hmm.
right? But actually, the person I had mentioned a long time ago in our discussion, I talked about Pat Finley, who was a Bondo and is a Bondo instructor. And
Nice.
and at that time, Bondo instructors, as they prepared for their black belt, had to look at and do actually do a paper on another martial art. And Pat chose to write about Guro Dan. And so that's where I met, that's why I met Pat. And like I said, still train with him to this day. So
Yeah. In your classes, how do you balance drills, flow, and real world applications? Like,
hard, that's a hard question, right?
yeah.
Um, I've, I'm 62 years old. I teach in a high school, although in the last few years I've gotten a lot of practice at work because fighting has become uh, a real problem in my high school. So I get a little practice in school, but I don't do a whole lot of the real world pressure testing anymore. I'm just too old. I took my Thai test. I've done a lot of sparring, stick, full contact stick sparring, getting a student ready for the Dog Brothers years ago. Um, so I've definitely tested myself, but at this point, me and then most of my students are 30 plus. It's just we don't need that kind of training anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of drill. I try to come up with drills that I don't often see. So, for instance, if we go to Silat,
Hmm.
um, I jokingly call them the Big Five from Mafala Indo and from Sarak. So the Puta Kapala, the two Besets, and the two Sapus, right?
Hmm.
We're all very used to doing that where somebody scarecrows for you, right? They punch you, they might punch you twice. You do the takedown and you move on. But I try to do drills that at least bring awareness to the student. So we'll stand in the middle and there'll be people at the four corners and they come at you whenever they choose to come at you. And we're all working at a rate where we're all safe. But things like that to keep things alive. You spoke before about having your BJJ guy and working some C lot or your BJJ people doing some C lot.
Yeah.
I do a lot of BJJ with my friend Bob Berge because I see there's a ton of crossover.
Yeah.
So yeah, and so keep it alive through that. And then just realistic training on your own. I'm way more likely as an old guy to fall down than I am to get in a fist fight. So footwork helps you with your balance, right? So that's a piece of it. But you still need to hit the bag. You still need to work the dummy. You still need to, you know, hit something with a stick, some sort of pell or stick dummy. You got to do that stuff. This is my cat deciding to stretch right in front of the
Oh,
camera.
that's all right. That's all right.
Where are you going, Otto? Where are you
Yeah,
going, Otto?
we're fans of cats. Hey, how's it going there, kitty?
Yeah,
How's it going?
he's a good boy. I had a cat named Harry Mao for a while. So
Ah,
yeah, he was a good
that's
boy.
amazing, Steve.
Yeah, he was a good boy. So
So, when you think of the word functional as a martial artist,
hmm
what do you think of nowadays? I know I'm hitting you with a weird question, right?
no, that's no. So that's functional means to me that it's applicable, but it has to be applicable. We were talking about is that a minute ago with taking things out of different boxes, right?
Hmm.
So at this point, functional means does it have use in more than one aspect of my life, right? So let's say uh, let's talk about jurors for a
Hmm.
second, right? So a C-lot person is going to think at first, well, the jurors are to teach me how to move when I get attacked, right? But then there's also the other piece of, well, it's working on my balance, it's working on my coordination. So is it hitting multiple points? I think functional, if you asked me that 20 years ago, I would have said, can I use it in a fight? Can I use it when I'm sparring? But now my functional, it's expanded actually. My definition is, does this make me healthier? Does this make help me understand the art better? All those pieces now are kind of falling into place instead of just, oh, can I beat somebody up with this?
Thank you
Yeah.
for saying that because
Yeah.
that's the same way I feel about it. Like in the different areas of functionality. And in the 90s, I remember being involved in so many conversations about what was functional. And then
Hmm.
I would sit around and think, well, yeah, yeah. But what if you just really love martial arts? And a guy like myself, I was never athletic. I never wanted to do sports. I didn't want to do anything like that. This is the thing that got me in my body so I could be relatively healthy as a
Hmm.
human being.
Yep.
Uh, so,
I'm in the same way. I didn't do anything athletic until I I went and saw samurai movies in Minneapolis, and I was like, I want to do that. And
yes.
that next day, we were in my backyard making bamboo swords out of bamboo, beach towels, and duct tape, and beating the crap out of each other and having no idea what we're doing. So I'm like, well, there's got to be some way to really learn this. So that started me off with, yeah, on the martial arts path. But that functional thing definitely has changed over time. And you think about Guru. Guru's not going to get in a fight any longer, but he sees the functionality in that bigger picture, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So, in your teaching career, what are some common mistakes that you see beginners make in Kali and Silat?
Beginner teachers or beginner students?
Either or both.
Not enough footwork.
Okay.
A good friend of mine used to say, really, all you need to do for the first year, if you want to do Kali or Eskrima, is angle one, angle two, and maybe a redondo or a snapping angle two, like a Watik,
Mm-hmm.
and some footwork, and do a lot of footwork. And he was also he was he's one tough dude. He failed his tie test. He didn't get the number of kicks in the round, and I don't know why, but that day Ajahn Chai said, if you want to do another round, we'll see if you pass. And Vince did 3 rounds in the tie test instead of just the normal two, and passed it. Um, but you don't do enough footwork and don't do enough hitting,
Okay.
and especially with the Kali Eskrima, because uh, there's a lot of functionality. Pardon the flashback word. A
You're
lot of
good, brother.
functionality to doing the motions with just the weapons,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to hit something. You wouldn't you wouldn't think anything of a boxer who's only shadow boxed. He's never hit a bag. He's never hit focus mitts. That would be crazy. So for the Eskrima and the Kali, that to me is a big like, you got to hit something. Make a Pell, which is the kind of medieval European version of a stick dummy, or tires, right? That's big with the Dos Peras guys, or it used to be when I ran with those guys. So yeah, do something to hit. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Hit something and do footwork.
Impact training and keep moving. That's really, really good advice, brother.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you think is the biggest benefit in starting with weapons over an empty hand type of training? Or
Well, we know
do you?
uh I don't see it as an either or. I think, historically, you got a bunch of guys who have to defend their village. You don't have time, and these guys are farmers full time, right? Most of our martial ancestors weren't professional martial artists, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they had to do their day job, and their day job was a lot of work, right?
Intensive.
Yeah. So their day job kept them in shape. The martial arts part was gravy, I guess. I don't know. Either way, the the tr- the weapons was just the efficient way to do it, right? The the because you got to defend your village, and you're not going to prepare to defend your village and have everybody doing empty hands first when the guys who are coming to hassle you are going to show up, with weapons. So
Yeah.
I think that was that kind of thing. I don't think I don't think you need to do it. I think weapons, a big part of being a JKD person is doing the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah.
To
Repetition,
to
brother.
make it good.
Yeah.
Guru says you're going to have like 8 or 10 things you can do when push comes to shove. And it's hard to make yourself do those 8 or 10 things over and over again in your life. How many times have you thrown a jab or
Yeah.
done a redondo or whatever? And so when we get a motion that we can see across the arts, it's another way of training it. So it gives us something to keep us maybe from being bored, but then sometimes it opens up it opens up another box, and we see, oh, here's this is a jab with a stick, and this is my jab here. And oh, okay, I learned something about extension or about range or something from it. So just gives us a new tool to learn about something. So
Absolutely. Finding those commonalities between the arts and all those things. And,
yeah,
as you stated, if we're really talking about some violence going down and people have weapons, you're going to want weapons. Even
yeah,
if they don't have weapons, you might think, I think I'm going to need something for this,
yeah.
right?
I jumped into a fight at a mall once. Five guys were beating up one kid, and I had a knife on me, and I took the knife out because I thought it's 5-on-1. This could go bad. I
Hmm.
didn't open the knife. No one saw the knife because I jumped in, and just me being there, some crazy old man jumping into the middle of a fight at the mall. They immediately looked at me and scattered. Um, no one ever saw that knife come out into my hand and go back into my pocket. So, yeah.
Yeah, good point. So, can I ask if someone is going to start martial arts or if they're interested in training in Kali or Silat, what advice would you give them?
The main thing that's for a beginner is putting in enough time so that you have a solid base. If you think you're going to come to class 1 or 2 nights a week and progress in the art, you're either going to be really physically gifted,
Hmm.
really, really intelligent or really, really intelligent because you'll be able to make those connections faster than the average bear. But you really have to say, okay, I need to put in time every day. It doesn't have to be a huge amount of time. Again, as a teacher, we are finding out different things about learning than we were taught as kids. Marathon studying is the worst thing, right? The best way to study for something academically, 20 to 40-minute hunks, and then you're done. 20 and 40-minute hunk, and then you're done. Uh, if I'm going to be a Thai boxer or a BJJ competitor, I'm going to need to put a ton of time on the map. But if I want to get good at what I'm doing as a beginner, I need to put in 20 minutes a day. And just it doesn't have to be super intensive. It's just got to be repetitive.
Yeah, that's really important advice. Guru Rick Fay w- went through a time, I think it was during COVID, where he talked about 30 and 30 for his group. So 30 minutes a day, no matter what, you move around in your art.
Yep.
And as best you can. So it might be a single stick, it might be double, you might be hitting the bag, but 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And I remember hearing that, and telling some of my students and some of my friends about it. And they're like, well, that just, I don't know if I could do that. And then I thought, but if you listen to any music at all, right? Could you pick up a stick for one song?
Yeah.
Right? And then next thing you know, I mean, the song could be 2.5 minutes or it could be 17 minutes, depending on the song, right?
Yep.
But that gives me a functional kind of functionality, but kind of breakdown as to why I can find the time, because it's there. It's there. And any amount of time that I spend on the computer, whether it's doing a podcast or researching something or working on curriculum, after about 30 minutes, I'm a little spacey. So to get up and move around with the stick a little bit is the best case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Guru was talking about the way he tricks himself into training. He's like, okay, I'm only going to get up and do 3 minutes of work. And then 3 minutes becomes 10, and it's a half an hour. And then he's 45 minutes in and he's had a good workout. I do something similar. I am super lucky, and my friend's basement is a complete martial arts training gym. And I go to Bob's house a couple days a week and train. But it's sometimes it's the scene from Ferris Bueller where I'm in the car talking to myself and I'm like, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go. I got to trick myself to go. But once I'm there, it's easy. I'm out in and I do my work and yeah. Yeah, you got to do those little tricks to
Uh,
keep that going on, right?
Oh, without a doubt. I was telling the
Yeah.
students the other day when I did have a full-time job, and I'm very blessed right now. My wife is ultra supportive, and I'm so blessed to be in the position I'm in. But I remember thinking, as much as I love this stuff, if my students had not given me money at the beginning of the month and had an expectation that I would show up, there's plenty of nights that I would have probably went and had dinner and sat in front of the TV just like everybody else or
Yeah.
whatever it was,
Yeah.
and that very idea of, okay, all right, okay, no, you took their money, you got to show up, and then I never left unhappy,
Right.
right?
Oh yeah, I've never trained and went, man, I wish I wouldn't have trained today.
I
Even
hear
even
that.
after even after like, oh, I got my knee dislocated today or whatever it was, it's never been a bad day training. So, yeah.
What keeps you excited right now in martial arts?
Whew. So I really feel I have a sense of duty because I've been entrusted by certain Guru Dan. I've been
Hmm.
entrusted by Guru to be an instructor. Pa Herman. Um, and Victor Detours. Who else? I trained and was an instructor under the Seox for a while. I trained extensively with Larry Hartzell. I've got all those people behind me, and I definitely feel it's a duty to keep the art going, and
Hmm.
I can still do it. And of course, Herman, right? They're behind me. They shared with me. They were very open. They trusted me to take that position as a teacher. I owe that, right? Um, it's very exciting to help the people see that little light go on,
Yeah.
right? That's
Uh-huh.
what's I've been teaching special education for 30 something years. The average lifespan of a special educator these days is 3 years.
God bless you, Steve. That's
Thank you.
amazing. Yeah, brother. You're welcome.
But it's seeing that light go on for that one student, right? Um, and I think most teachers need to see the class go, oh, I get it. I'm still pretty good with. I've helped that one kid see this one thing. That keeps me going. And I keep finding out more stuff, right? I keep uncovering more stuff about myself, more stuff about my abilities or my abilities that are disappearing, and I better come up with some way to make up for that deficit now. I have no knees. Watching me do jujitsu is comical, I think, because I don't really have knees, but I keep working at it. I keep trying to get better at it. So,
Yeah. What do you like about jujitsu?
I love the first thing that drew me to it was just a lot of the exercise was great. It was a
Hmm.
good way um, to get in some exercise. I like uh, the no mind aspect of it. So you know what I'm talking about when we spar, when we're really sparring, whether it's kickboxing or stick fighting. That's one of the few times in my life where it's quiet and I'm just in the moment.
Hmm.
But kickboxing and full contact stick fighting are really hard on your body. Not that jujitsu can't be really hard on your body, but it's much easier to tune it down and still get to that place. So
Hmm.
I really like that. I also really like in as I said earlier is I really like seeing, hey, this is how we did it in Silat, but it sure looks a lot like this in BJJ. Are they really the same thing? And it's just flared up or in one and looks different, but it's really the same thing. I love exploring that. And luckily, my training partner, he's my senior, not my training partner. My senior really helps me explore that. So that gets me excited.
Yeah, kind of like with Guru Dan, like always learning, always something to learn, and that's like one of those things. I remember him talking about learning folk style wrestling, like in the last decade, and he's 80. He's going to be 89, right? And I
He's going to
mean,
be, yeah,
he's
90 soon, right?
yeah, yeah. He's got. I think he'll be 90, but I mean, in the past 10 years, like folk style wrestling, and to be able to talk with him for a small moment in time and see him so excited
Yeah.
about something, you know?
It's it's always Christmas morning with him when he's learning something new, right? And
Yeah,
that's yeah, yeah,
it's so neat to be a student too, because, you know, I love Sila and the outside foot sweep, like, I understood it, but I could never do it. It never worked for me, and it's still probably not my most solid technique. But one year, I think it was 2006 or 7 in St. Louis, he showed how to do it out of Hubud, and he said this kind of he took it the entry or the teaching aspect from his Greco-Roman wrestling coach. And learning it that way has made it doable for me.
yep,
And if it wouldn't have been for that particular moment, because I had done some of the Jerus, I had done a little bit of this, a little bit of that, I had an idea of what was supposed to happen, but I couldn't feel it. And just his passion for something new came out, and the way that he was showing us was just it's just such a big ordeal.
yeah. That feedback loop with him where he keeps getting us excited about the arts and the connectivity. That's another thing that drives me, right?
How
So
how often do you get to see Guru now?
I haven't seen him for 2 years. I went to last time I saw him, it was the Sea Lot camp 2 springs ago. He's not traveling to the East Coast. Well, the central East Coast where I am. He's been up in New York City and he's been down to Atlanta. But we used to have him in this area a lot. He has not been able to come back. So I need to see him. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make that work in the next couple of months. Maybe he'll be back up in New York. I don't know. He goes to Atlanta fairly often, so maybe that'll end up
I
up
think he's gonna
seeing him.
be in Atlanta in the next couple of weeks
He
with
is. He's going to
Sifu
be there
Fong.
for the big, yeah, Sifu Fong's thing, but that's that one is not going to be doable. I'm going to have to hit something later in the year. So,
Yeah. Well, if you find yourself going out to LA and you want a training partner, don't hesitate to reach out.
oh, I will. I
You know,
definitely will.
if I
Yeah.
could make it happen, I have not went out there as much as I should have. But now that he is not traveling, I'm trying to make it out there as much as I can.
When were
You
you out there
know,
last?
I was out there in September of last year.
Okay.
And then before that, I think it was 2 years since I had been out there. But
It's weird not to see him. I saw him every year in March and November at my friend's school in Pittsburgh, and every year in the middle of November and in late March, my body says, "You should be going to Pittsburgh soon. What are you doing?" Because it was just for so long, for 25 years, at least 25
wow.
years, we were up there at least twice a year. And then Don would have Eric Paulson or Larry Hartzell or Mike and A. And so it was just we were there all the time. And that I miss those trips for sure.
Yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Guru was coming to Minneapolis, 3 hours away from us, twice a year.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so for about a decade, I that's just like you said, there's like a February and then there was a fall moment where the tick would come,
Yeah.
right? And it'd be like, oh, it's just about guru time,
Yep.
you know?
It's a
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly it. Yeah.
God bless him. Would you like to play the rapid insight round here? You will be one
Sure.
of the first five to ever do so. But
Let's
bum
go.
cha. All right. One training habit everyone should start tomorrow.
More footwork.
More footwork. Keep moving, keep moving, keep moving.
Yep.
What is one habit that martial artists should stop immediately?
Ooh. Trying to apply everything immediately.
Mm-hmm.
They need to develop things and see that development through, and not don't see everything as this is applicable right now.
Mm-hmm. That's really good advice. What is something that beginners worry about that doesn't matter in the grand
Rank.
scheme? Rank? Yeah, brother.
Just train.
Just train.
Just train. If you're if your teacher thinks you should be a teacher, they're going to tell you you should be a teacher. If you don't have that mindset, it doesn't mean you're any less a martial artist. It just doesn't mean your gifts are in that way. So just train. Be somebody's best training partner. Be an example to other folks in the class. You don't have to be a teacher.
Yeah, brother. Thank you. That's awesome. I think a lot of folks need to hear that. What is one principle that applies equally to martial arts as well as life?
Oh, this is a long answer. So there's a thing called Bloom's taxonomy in education. If you go read the Wikipedia article when we're done, you're going to go, holy crap, that's JKD. The interesting part is Bloom's taxonomy was the hot new thing when a certain guy we know was in teacher college in the 60s.
Mm,
So there's something that's applicable across life and learning. Bloom's taxonomy is kind of the JKD progression, but just as an educational tool, not as a martial arts educational tool. So,
ooh, I see Wikipedia in my future.
yep,
That's
yep,
it there, or at least Google. All
yeah.
right. What is the hardest lesson martial arts has taught you over the years, sir?
The hardest lesson. Sometimes it's the hardest lesson has been your body's gonna change. Guru preaches to this about this, and I know young me was like, sure, whatever. Holy crap! Yep, you're gonna change, and you're gonna have uh, things are gonna disappear from your skill set, and things are gonna reappear. But that's a hard thing a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely like an exercise in acceptance,
Yes.
like for all of us,
Mm-hmm.
without a doubt.
Most definitely.
Okay, one last question, sir. What does being formable mean to you personally?
Formable. That's I love that phrase. I had never thought about that. Uh, you can react to your surroundings in a and keep going, right? Keep going is a major theme, for me. You hit roadblocks, you hit personal issues, whatever, just keep going. But also formable, you need to respond to what's being, maybe this sounds super esoteric, but you have to react to what the universe is telling you and go with that, right? So, okay, I'm getting old, I have craptastic knees, but I'm going to form my art to represent somebody who is getting older and has crappy knees. And instead of just bailing on the martial arts, or I don't do that anymore, how can I make that work? Um, so yeah, keep working at it, right? Be formable. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that. One of the things that I've grown to talk with people that as they grew older that they gave up martial arts, sometimes they're bitter, sometimes they're unhappy, and a lot of times they're telling stories about something that happened 25 years ago, right?
Hmm.
And we are all going to have those moments, and there's nothing wrong with telling those stories. But
Yeah.
uh, as we age and we change, and I'm gonna be a grandfather soon, dude.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. But as all this happens, like we don't have to give up the martial arts. We don't have to whatever. And sometimes what we have what I have to give up is the ego in martial arts, right? Which is the part of like, well, you just don't know. Like, hold on, I've been doing this longer than I've ever been doing it as of today. I'm just as lost, if not more lost than I've been.
There's so many things to do. I can't keep it all straight. Yep, I know
Yes,
that
yeah,
feeling. Yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and and what's so odd about what you said though is the guy that is our instructor, he's 90 years old and he's still on the mat a couple days a week, and you still see him in the corner working on something solo or trying to remind himself, how did that happen? How did I make that work? And so it is kind of odd to me that people have done what you said. Just I'm out, I'm done. Uh, but there's your teacher. What are you doing? He's still going.
Yeah.
Fine, use that as your inspiration. But I don't know. We don't get to be in charge of everybody. So just
No.
ourselves.
And that's a good thing because I most days I shouldn't even be in charge of myself, sir. It depends on the day.
I say that all the time at work. I'm barely in charge of me. I can't be in charge of you. So yeah.
Brother, if somebody wanted to come train with you, where would they find you? Are you accepting new students?
Uh I usually only accept folks with a background already.
Okay.
I've reached a point where I just really want to focus on developing people who already have the basics, or maybe not all the basics, and help them get all of them. But I have a Facebook page that's called Weekend Silat. They can reach out to me there. With me retiring and I want to teach more. I'm going to re-energize my website, which may or may not be. This is how long it's been since I've used it because I got no students from my website, but it was capital area Silat.
Okay.
So that'll, if it's not up, it will be back soon. So
Great.
yeah,
Steve, it's been a absolute pleasure reconnecting with you, my friend.
yeah, it's been
And
great.
it's really been nice to have a conversation with you prior to today. And for what it's worth, you had a real like influence on me as a human being.
Well, thank you so much
Uh,
for that.
yeah, well,
Yeah,
thank you. And
yeah,
it means a lot for you to come on the show. And I'm just happy that you are the guy. I thought you were the guy,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes, I am that guy. Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm glad I was there. So
Yeah, me too. Me too. It's Jamie Sparling, FormABLE Podcast. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And Mr. Steve Braun, who actually is a treasure in the martial arts, even though
thank you.
he
It's a
won't tell
blessing.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
We'll see you next time, FormABLE Podcast. Whoosh.
done.
Brother, thank you for coming on the show, sir.
It was my pleasure. We didn't talk too much about Herman, though. So if you want to do one that's more Herman focused, you let me know.